How's it going, y'all? MX3 is here. We have 10 times Superman. Superman was forced to kill. Now, I'm not a huge comic book guy, but I know everyone. I know a good portion, about a good amount of them. I want to start getting into comics, but that's a long road. But I have seen the short films, the actual movies, a good portion of the TV shows and stuff like that. So let's check this out. Let's see if I know any already. Bada boom, click.
He may not be born of this earth, but Superman is supposed to represent the best of humanity, a standard we should all hold ourselves up to, which means living virtuously, helping people, and firing lasers out of your eyes sometimes. It also means not straight up murdering people, or killing at all, because that's not cool, even on Krypton, a place that was certifiably silly buggers. I'm Ben from What Culture, and here are 10 times Superman was forced to kill.
Alright.
Number 10. Zod, at the end of Man of Steel. For 2013's Man of Steel, Warner Bros. Looked to Christopher Nolan's incredibly successful Dark Knight trilogy of Batman adaptations and decided they want more of that, please. So Snyder's efforts became the realistic Superman film, where death and destruction awaits around every corner. Basically, the entire last half of the film is Supes grappling with the Kryptonian bad guys across Smallville
That
and
was
Metropolis,
nice how he was
highly
going up the
populated urban
building.
areas that are completely decimated during the super-powered
Me and
battle.
my dad was
The film
roasting
ultimately climaxes with Zod and Superman in a train
the film.
station, with Zod shooting some I-beams that will evaporate a
We were like,
family
look
if
at all the
Supes doesn't
buildings he's
stop him in
going
time.
through. Oh my
So
God.
Man of Steel
Like, we were
decides
just
to break the
looking at
guy's
it,
neck,
but I
which
didn't
is
realize
direct
they
and indisputable
made that
murder.
a big part of it.
Number 9. A Kryptonian dragon. Keeping with the grittier style introduced in Man of Steel, DC Comics relaunched their whole shared universe under New 52, which has mainly been about eliminating interesting character development and making everyone angsty murderers, and Superman is no exception. A storyline in the Man of Steel's main title saw a mysterious Kryptonian villain trying to resurrect his homeworld, but on Earth, and apparently Krypton had huge dragons. Naturally, it's Superman's mess to
They
clean
had
up, so he
dragons?
hips and he hops and he bips and his bops his way over there and starts putting the smackdown on this mythical fire-breathing bastard. He roasts it with his heat vision and it explodes. Admittedly, the dragon did have the potential to harm civilians, but Superman just killed a sentient being without really thinking too hard about it, and an endangered species at that. Number
That's
8.
interesting.
Dr. Light during Trinity War. The premise of the 11-issue Trinity War event was that Pandora's box actually existed and was a crazy powerful ancient weapon that a lot of bad
think I heard of
hombres
that.
wanted to get their hands on. A little way in, the Justice League end up in Karnak, trying to stop Shazam from causing a diplomatic incident, which escalates into a battle between the League and the government-sponsored JLA. One of the members of the JLA is new recruit Dr. Light, who teams up with this nice team of do-gooders and ends up fighting Superman. And by fighting Superman, I mean having his head blasted clean off his body by Superman's heat vision. Everyone is shocked at the cold-blooded murder, not least of all Supes himself, and it's later revealed he was mind-controlled to do it as an ongoing campaign to discredit him and the Justice League. So that's fine. Number 7. Mixia Spitlick.
Whoa.
Then himself.
That wouldn't really
Over the
count
course
if
of the
he was
two-part
forced to.
Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow story, Clark Kent's secret identity is revealed and Lex Luthor, Lana Lang, Jimmy Olsen, and Krypto all get killed by Brainiac and the Legion of Supervillains.
Really?
It transpires that all this was orchestrated by Mr. Mixia Spitlick, a being from the fifth dimension who previously turned up as a fairly easy-to-deal-with prankster. Transforming into a more formidable, mind-bending form, Superman realizes the only way to stop the being, whose name I will no longer mention, is to trap him between two dimensions,
Picture if the
effectively
New Minutes still
killing
had
him.
Brainiac.
I suppose you could call
And they
him
just-
a shit being from the fifth dimension with an
And
impossible
Lois.
to pronounce name for wankers. Hashtag shit being from
That'd
the
be
fifth dimension
insane.
with an impossible to pronounce name for wankers. Having broken his oath never to take a life, Superman enters the gold kryptonite room of his Fortress of Solitude, committing suicide. Number 6.
Man.
Zod and pals at the end of Superman 2. The basic plot of Superman 2 is that 3 Kryptonian criminals escape from their Phantom Zone
I
prison
like
and
that
start
movie.
wreaking havoc on Earth. Zod takes advantage of Superman's noticeable concern for the innocent bystanders and starts
and my father are
purposefully
Superman
placing them
people.
in peril during their fight in
For real.
Metropolis. Realizing the only way to defeat the villains lies in his Fortress of Solitude, Superman then lures them there, where he exposes them to a magical crystal chamber that saps them of all of their powers, rendering them useless and not at all dangerous. That's important. Not at all dangerous, okay? Then he crushes Zod's hand to a fine paste and tosses all the baddies, not at all dangerous, into a bottomless pit where, lacking their super strength, they will surely die. Number 5. Everyone in the olden days.
That's true.
In the early days, when his moral sticking points hadn't been completely nailed down, Soup's 30s appearances were full of Golden Age genocide courtesy of the last son of Krypton. Not wishing to waste any time, he got right down to it in the pages of Superman number 1 as he threw an army general off a cliff and then destroyed an enemy plane without checking to see if the pilot parachuted out in time. From there, he blew up a munitions factory and appeared as a star witness in his Clark Kent guise at a criminal trial, ensuring the defendants all got the death penalty. In the next issue, he broke into a bad guy's lab and let him be consumed by his own poisonous gas, boasting that it had no effect on his alien physiology. Then, he caught a bomb dropped by an enemy aircraft and chucked it right back up, destroying the plane and presumably everyone on board. Oh, and finally, he let a guy who'd worked out his secret identity fall down a flight of steps and break his neck before he could spill the beans. Number 4. Imperial and Brainiac to save the universe. In our world at war, Imperial is slowly making his way to Earth and destroying every planet, star system, and piece of space junk he comes across during his journey. His intention was to use our world as the staging ground for the hollowing of the entire universe. Ultimately, Brainiac, a long-term Superman villain who was part of the resistance against Imperial, betrayed the Earth and decided to shack up with the World Destroyer, absorbing some of his new buddy's energy and vowing to use it to rule everything. Left with no choice after conventional attacks fail to halt their progress, Superman shoves them through a wormhole that takes them back to the exact moment of the Big Bang, which, and I quote, spreads their consciousness across trillions of light years instantly. I mean, it's not conventional murder, but it certainly sounds like killing to me. Number 3. The Joker. In an alternate dimension.
3 with
Injustice
like
Gods Among Us is a wonderful fighting
them.
video game developed by the fine people who made Mortal Kombat, and they had the unenviable task of dreaming up a reason for why a load of DC superheroes and villains would be fighting amongst themselves, like Superman shoving his fist through the Joker and then murdering him by tearing out his heart, for example. The first issue of the comic opens with Batman telling Supes that Lois Lane is pregnant with his super baby, which is all very exciting, but whilst they're distracted by the celebrations, the Joker walks up to Lois and Jimmy Olsen in the street and shoots them both dead. Enraged, as you would be, the Man of Steel turns up at court on the day of the Clown Prince's trial and kills him. Batman can be heard from the rooftops yelling,
"Oh, what the man? I resisted for years. For you, Superman."
I was going to say, that is like, really?
Number 2. Doomsday. For a storyline as uninspired in its conception as the death of Superman, the method of his demise was similarly dull, with new villain Doomsday being introduced explicitly as the Man of Steel's only physical equal, which meant that long-term fans and children alike were treated to a multi-page action scene of splash pages where Superman was pummeled to death by a big grey man with protruding bone things. The final image was of Clark Kent beaten, bloody, bruised and limp in Lois Lane's arms, and it was all rather upsetting. However, as something of a silver lining, Doomsday had also died at Superman's hands during a brawl that caused a level of damage that would make even Henry Cavill jealous, the high-cheekboned c***. In this final fight, Kal-El decided to punch Doomsday to death just before he expired himself. Aww. Number 1. Zod and pals in Superman number 22. We've already seen our hero eliminate Zod and his crew in Superman 2 and Man of Steel, both cited as being totally out of character and not consistent with the comic books at all. Except that they absolutely are, and there was even a whole storyline about it back in the 80s, called I Am Superman and I'm Gonna Kill Zod. It wasn't. That's not a real one. I'd buy it, though. In this adventure, we reverted back to Kal-El as the actual last son of Krypton, which meant that when he inevitably faced General Zod, he had to travel to a pocket universe within his own, where many Kryptonians had survived the planet's destruction, including alternate reality versions of Zod and chums. He then realizes that the group was sentenced to death before Krypton was destroyed, and they only avoided that punishment because they managed to escape before it was dealt. And they had also just wiped out the human population of this alternate Earth. So Superman reluctantly took on the role of executioner, exposing them all to kryptonite that had no effect on him for some reason. Just don't question it. He did feel bad about it, though, and maybe that's the most important thing. Superman shouldn't kill. True, which means that when he is forced to, it's all the more tragic. And that's our list. Make sure you subscribe to the What
All
Culture
he
Comics
had to
YouTube
do is the
channel for more
1-inch
lists like
punch
this,
to
and don't forget to
anybody.
visit whatculture.com
This
for
day.
daily news and articles. I'm Ben from What Culture, and thanks for watching.
So 10 times in between the 10 times, he killed like 20 times. So that's crazy, man. Yeah, like nobody saved himself out of all the pods they had. You're telling me the only pod was for the size of a baby? If you know your planet's about to get blown up, is in the process of getting blown up. Lava, things cracking and breaking, you see everything's getting destroyed. There's no way you could just reverse that like that. Well, as long as if you're Superman and you spin counterclockwise, you know. But besides that, it's like, really? And I realized too, when Man of Steel, nobody was flying. I guess because they were just used to their gravity, so they don't fly. And I guess because our gravity is much lighter, that Superman can just boom. But that's not actually that. Well, he flies all through outer space, so I guess his father and mother could do that too. No, because in Man of Steel they gave him this extra power, this chemical that went in him, that gave him that power. I don't know, man. Too much. But all I gotta say is Superman's plug. He's awesome. He is the definition of a superhero. Batman. I like Batman. But dude, Superman could just go to him and just grab his arms and just rip. And then in the background you would just hear fatality. And then he would just crush his head. Like literally, the whole Batman versus Superman, he could just be like, he's the one that helped me find. Neck. And just walk away. Not even. With one hand. Because how strong he is, he could just twist it like that. Done. But hey, that's just my opinion. Alright, y'all. Tell me what you think. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Share. And repost. Alright, y'all. MX3 out.